Hi, I'm CJ Sturko of the STS-128 crew, and you're watching NASA TV.
Space Shuttle Discovery is poised and ready for action this evening as launch controllers oversee their data here in Firing Room 4 at Kennedy Space Center's Launch Control Center. Commander Rick Sturko, a veteran of 3 space flights, being suited up and ready for action tonight. Pilot Kevin Ford is making his first space flight, giving a thumbs up. Here's Nicole Stott. She's a mission specialist and is riding Discovery for a long-duration ride aboard the International Space Station. She'll be changing places with Tim Kopra. Mission Specialist 1, Patrick Forrester. He's a veteran of 2 space flights. Danny Olivas. He's flown once before. He's our lead spacewalker on this mission. Christopher Fugelsang, our European Space Agency astronaut. And Jose Hernandez, mission specialist number 2 on the mission, is making his first space flight. He also will be the flight engineer on the flight deck, assisting the commander and pilot.
Here's CJ getting his helmet put on.
Discovery, launch director.
Discovery, go ahead, sir.
Well, CJ, the vehicle's clean and the teams are go. And this time Mother Nature is cooperating, so it looks like third time really is the charm. We wish you and your team good luck and Godspeed.
Thanks, Pete. On behalf of the crew of Discovery, thanks to everyone who helped prepare for this mission. Let's go step up the science on the International Space Station.
At NTD Launch Director, you do have a go to launch Discovery.
And I copy that, Launch Director. DLS is go for orbiter access arm retract.
And Discovery OTC, good luck getting the MPLM, LMC, and of course the Colbert safely into orbit. Have a great flight.
Discovery, roger.
T-minus 15 seconds. The sound suppression water system has been activated.
10. DLS is go for main engine start.
We have a go for main engine start. And we have main engine start. 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery, celebrating its 25th birthday by racking up science and supplies to the space station.
Houston now controlling the midnight ride of Rick Sturko and his crew to the International Space Station. Discovery rolling onto the proper alignment for its 8.5-minute ride to orbit. 4.5 million pounds of hardware and humans taking aim on the International Outpost. 32 seconds into the flight. The 3 liquid fuel main engines soon will throttle back to 72% of rated performance, down in the bucket, reducing the stress on the shuttle as it goes transonic. Discovery 3.5 miles in altitude, 4 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center.
Discovery, go at throttle up. Copy, go at throttle up.
The throttle up call acknowledged by Commander Rick Sturko, joined on the flight deck by pilot Kevin Ford, flight engineer Jose Hernandez, and Pat Forrester. Seated down on the middeck are Danny Olivas, Christopher Fugelsang of the European Space Agency, and Nicole Stott, hitching a ride for 3 months on the International Space Station. Booster officer confirms staging a good solid rocket booster separation. Guidance now converging. The onboard computers steering the shuttle for its precise path to the International Space Station. External tank separation confirmed. Discovery now in its preliminary orbit.
Well, good evening, Houston. I think this is a little view of our OMS 2 burn activity. Jose is still in his helmet and Pat out of his. And we're all just cleaning up our orbit so that we can be nice and stable.
Okay, and this is Nicole. Here we are down on the middeck. I'm still sitting in my seat, just getting used to my new space legs, I guess. And we're back up in the flight deck, so I'll hand it over.
All right, this is getting ready for the OMS 2 burn. You can see there's a parachute cover there. You can see that it accelerates toward the rear, toward Jose, and he's batting it up toward the front. And that was kind of fun there.
A little bit of the commander. He was the last one out of the seat.
Hey, there's a good shot of our PLT. This is Jose Hernandez adjusting to the 0G, as Kevin can show you there with the pencil, that we are really in the 0G environment.
The next thing is Pat and Krister. We're getting ready to open the payload bay doors. And you can see Krister set up that camera. If you watch very closely, pretty soon you'll see the door move, actually. There it goes. You can see it moving out there out the back window. That was pretty good. Good teamwork by Pat and Krister. They did the doors and the KU band antenna.
Down on the middeck, you can see things are pretty busy. There's a lot of bags and a lot of gear that needs to be unstowed and restowed. You can see here Krister deep into the ditch, helping me out with some of the very large 5 MLE bags. These are where we store a lot of our equipment for station as well as for shuttle.
There's Jose doing a great job of setting up the PGSCs. He got the stuff out of what we call a lightweight Mar.
Since we have our inspections on flight day 2, we always try and get the arm out of cradle and checked out for the next day. So I ran through those procedures.
And the last thing is Kevin was helping out, making sure we had everything done in the flight plan, and it looked really good. And here's Jose making a couple of calls on the air to ground.
And Discovery for Pat, you are go for OBSS on berth.
Good work.
As Ford, Forrester, and Hernandez continue the survey of the port wing using the orbiter boom sensor system, the rest of the crew is getting ready for all the mid-deck transfers that have to be done once Discovery docks with the International Space Station. You can see Commander Rick Sturko there inside the hatch of Discovery waving at the orbiter boom sensor system as that 50-foot-long attachment on the end of Discovery's robotic arm continues the survey of the left side of Shuttle Discovery.
Okay, Houston, here's the STS-128 crew on the middeck. After crew wake up, you can see everybody's getting going. Danny and Jose were making us some excellent breakfast burritos, and everybody's getting cleaned up and ready to go to work this day.
Here we go, ready for the burn, and to show what our thrust is like, we're going to leave a timer floating there, and you're going to see it's going to come towards me, and I'll catch it like a good catcher in baseball. Good. Okay, CJ's getting ready for the burn, and there it goes.
Oh, live.
And he's out. Okay, you see that down the middeck again. We finally got the ergometer all set up, and this is actually it's a manual adjustment knob, and you can see that space is a lot of fun. If you're not having fun in space, you're obviously doing something wrong. We try and combat the issues associated with being in space, and you can see here CJ taking advantage of the work that we did with the ergometer. He was the first one to jump on it, and here he is working out.
And then today we spent quite a bit of time working on EMU checkout, or checking out the spacesuits for the 3 spacewalks that we'll be doing. You can see Danny and Krister here working on their spacesuits. And from every window, we have a really spectacular view of the Earth, as well as the what surprised me, the real blackness of space. I don't think I've ever seen black as it is out here. And here we have a shot out the window of sunrise, I believe.
Station truss cameras capturing our first view of the shuttle Discovery at a distance of about 38 nautical miles. Good view from the station truss cameras as you saw the ignition of the orbital maneuvering system engines. The NC-4 burn underway.
And Discovery Station, we're ready for the RPM maneuver. We copy.
A good view of the orbiter docking system, the docking ring extended, powered up, set to come into contact with the docking mechanism on the forward end of the Harmony connecting node. The floodlit payload bay of the shuttle Discovery from cameras on the International Space Station.
Yes, Space Shuttle Discovery arriving. Yes, flight engineer Nicole Stott arrival.
And so after a brief greeting, back to work for the 13 crew members. Again, this safety briefing coming up will be followed by the removal and exchange of the custom-made Soyuz seedliners between Nicole Stott and Tim Kopra to grapple and unberth the orbiter boom sensor system, the boom extension, and hand it off to the shuttle robotic arm that will be controlled by Pat Forrester and Jose Hernandez, who at that point will be back onto the aft flight deck of Discovery.
Well, good evening, Houston. This is Flight Day Highlights for Flight Day 3, and it was a big day for us. Christopher pulling messages from ground off of our printer on board.
Used a little bit of video there of Nicole seeing her new home for the first time, looking through para-stabilized binoculars, and we always report in when we first see the station.
Here, Nicole is enjoying the view of her future home for several months. It's actually a wonderful view of the space station when you get closer. Beautiful solar rays, like golden shining, and then you have the modules and radiators shining in silver.
And as we swing through the cockpit on the flight deck, you can see it's a pretty busy place. All 7 bodies are up here. We're crammed pretty tight, and very little real estate, but we find a way to make everything fit. Everyone has a role and responsibility. The station starts off as a bright dot off in the distance, and it's really impressive to see as it moves closer and closer as we make our approach to station.
Okay, well, we went through the last series of burns coming up to the manual phase. The guidance did its job and got the orbiter in a very good situation for the manual takeover to fly it up onto the R-bar.
Good closure.
Capture fired.
Capture light.
Okay.
All right.
Capture light.
Looking for free drift.
You never got
Station in Houston from Discovery. Capture confirmed.
Did we
All right.
Got flashing red. All right. Good job.
All right.
All right. Good job.
All right.
Good
Good job, Kevin. Good job.
All right.
Way to go.
Nice. I gotta disarm my PCT here.
Flight controller power is coming off.
And then it was time to go ahead and you can see the station crew opening the APAS hatch.
All right. How y'all guys doing? Good to see ya. All right. We're upside down. All right.
Okay, so the day was pretty exciting. Flight day 3, we've been looking forward to it. The docking and then getting on board station. And then we had to get back to work with getting everything ready to transfer over from the shuttle to the station. And here we are on the station. Frank DeWinna, one of the crew members over on station, is helping us with all of the transfer. You can see Krista helping to move one of the big bags over. And then Kevin and Tim Coper got to work with some of the robotics operations with the boom and the arm.
Houston Station on the big loop for robotics.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, just let you know, we are just putting procedure 1.210 with the first MPLM grapple in work.
Okay, sounds good, Mike.
The station's robotic arm, the Canadarm2, reached over and has grappled the grapple fixture on the top of the Leonardo multipurpose logistics module.
Just finishing up flight day 4, first full dock day aboard the space station. And woke up this morning and Mike Barrett from the expedition crew joined me for MPLM installation. Took it out of the payload bay with the Canadarm2 with a big robotic arm. It's a nice view. You see sunrise back there. Just in the nighttime, we use a lot of illuminators and everything to make the robotics work. Here's CJ with a full water container. We make water as a product of generating electricity. As we combine our hydrogen and oxygen together, we get electrons and we get water. And the space station is more than happy to take our excess water, so we fill bags for them.
Here we have Danny doing the EMU transfer, and he's being guided from behind with Tim Copra. So they're transferring the EMU suits to the airlock on the International Space Station. We have a big day tomorrow, busy day, where Danny and Nicole will do the first EVA.
And here, after a little hiccup, we finally managed to open the hatch to the M&M. We have to have masks and goggles on in case there will be bad air or something floating around, but it was very pristine inside the M&M. Great groundwork from everyone at KC has prepared it. It looked very nice and clean.
Okay, Danny, you have a go to open the EV hatch and stow it, please.
Here we go.
View of Danny Olivas at the spent ammonia tank assembly. This spent tank weighs almost 1,300 pounds. It will be removed and grappled by the Canadarm2 and held in place for the next day and a half until the new ammonia tank assembly is installed in its place during the second spacewalk Thursday by Olivas and Krista Fugelsang. Stott moving over to join Danny Olivas at the work site for the release of the ammonia tank assembly. The Canadarm2 multitasking, grappled on to the ammonia tank assembly and being used to haul Nicole Stott and the European Technology Experiment Facility over to Discovery's cargo bay, where it will be berthed.
That's good motion. Continue.
We're looking at sequential still video now from inside Discovery's cargo bay. You can see Danny Olivas there on the left, Nicole Stott there on the right. They are continuing to try to get this UTEF experiment installed at the back end of the payload bay.
Okay, Ted, you are clear to continue with our motion out of the payload bay.
STS-128 mission specialist Danny Olivas making good progress on this MISSI experiment. He has so far removed what's called pip pins, which are little small quick disconnect pins that we're holding these two, you see them on the right and the left, almost suitcase-like experiments open, and he has put those pins back in to secure them closed for the ride home.
This is the beginning of flight day 5, and this is the hygiene break. It's a big day for us as Nicole and Danny are going to do the first EVA of our mission. And as you can see, they're getting ready, following protocol, and are in the mess after spending the night there in campout. You can see the hatch being closed there by Tim Copra. We now are sealed off from the International Space Station, and the pressure will be brought down to 10.2.
Danny's got inside the hard upper torso of the spacesuit, and you can see into the crew lock. It's full of equipment right now, but we'll empty all that out, and that's where Danny and Nicole end up going into before we close the hatch behind them, and then we drop that portion of the airlock down to vacuum before they go outside. We also had several racks to transfer, and they had to be unbolted first. The systems are pretty smart though, so it's not much bolting you have to do. I had the privilege of IVing for Danny and Nicole today, and basically what we do is set up shop on the flight deck, and using a combination of the windows and all the cameras and monitors that we have, we keep track of where they're at. They know the procedures quite well, and yet we still have them in here to remind them what steps may be coming next. We're also talking to the ground for any last-minute changes or updates.
Well, Houston, this was flight day 6 on the STS-128 mission. We got the whole crew up here on the flight deck of Discovery. Just a little post-sleep action here with exercise on the bike. And we've got everybody getting ready to start the day out there. We had a big day of MPLM transfer, so it's good to get the exercise in early so that we can have uninterrupted time in the MPLM. There's a lot of paperwork, which Krister has mostly been tracking for this mission. He's our load master for the MPLM, and I've been trying to help him out with that. And you can see there's a very nice choreography to get the MPLM transferred, and here's Krister doing rack transfers.
Here you see me rotating a rack where we have just a lot of items in the back. A lot of them are scientific equipment. We even have extra food that we carry for the International Space Station crew. The MPLM's getting quite empty now, so it's a very big volume to float around in. It's really kind of dreamy up here. A lot of people would love to be able to do it, and just a real pleasure to be up here and be able to do that.
Not everything that we transfer over to the space station came up in the MPLM. We do have some things on the mid-deck of the orbiter. One of those is a freezer that we carry up. And when we launched, it was at about +4 degrees Celsius, and we carried up some experiments that are going to be transferred over to the Japanese module. There's Nicole and I. We opened it up for the first time, and then what we're going to do is we're going to carry those over, and they'll be stowed in another freezer that's located on the space station.
Christer Fugelsang, who is continuing to pre-breathe pure oxygen to cleanse the nitrogen out of his bloodstream as he and fellow spacewalker Danny Olivas gear up for the second spacewalk of this flight, a 6.5-hour excursion outside of Quest with the singular goal to install a new ammonia tank assembly on the Port 1 truss of the International Space Station. You can see the extended Canadarm2 robotic arm firmly in the grasp of the old ammonia tank assembly that was removed by Olivas and Stott during the first spacewalk on Tuesday. And then at the rear of Discovery's cargo bay, the boxy object is the subject of today's work. The new ammonia tank assembly, there's a close-up view on its truss structure, its cargo-carrying truss at the rear of the cargo bay, its destination, the Port 1 truss of the International Space Station later today. Kevin Ford now maneuvering the Canadarm2 down to the payload bay of Discovery to meet Christer Fugelsang.
Good motion, Christer. Thank you.
And it's about 4 feet.
The arm is in firm grasp of the old ammonia tank assembly and has been for the past 2 days since it was removed during the first spacewalk by Olivas and Nicole Stott. Christer Fugelsang at the end of the Canadarm2 robotic arm as he hauls the new ammonia tank assembly up to the work site on the Port 1 truss of the International Space Station. The ammonia tank assembly is now firmly secured in the Port 1 truss of the International Space Station. At 7:24 p.m. Central Time, the new tank is in its parking place on the port side of the International Space Station's backbone.
STS-128 mission specialist Christer Fugelsang getting quite the view now as he makes his way back toward Discovery's payload bay with his spent ammonia tank assembly. Denny Olivas, meanwhile, moving hand over hand down the station's structure back toward the payload bay. This is a shot of Christer Fugelsang still down inside Discovery's payload bay, wrapping up the activities on this old ammonia tank assembly. While he is doing that, Danny Olivas is up on the S1 truss, working on an ammonia tank assembly up there.
20 minutes on GP4. Welcome to Flight Day 7 highlights for STS-128. It's been a great mission. We're getting closed in inside with them so that we can help them with all the procedures and get them ready to go outside on EVA-2.
A big part of the EVA today was robotic operations, where Kevin flew Christer around quite a bit on the arm. This is where Kevin and I were setting up all of the equipment that we need for supporting the robotic arm operations. We've got a lot of different tools that allow us to see what's going on and make sure that the arm and Christer stay clear of the station.
And here you see Christer heading down the payload bay sill on his way to join the arm.
One of the things you learn in zero gravity is that you carry things with your legs and you get around, you move around with your arms, quite the opposite of what you would do on the ground. And Frank is moving some of the food containers that way, and it's a very efficient way actually to get things from point to point. And here is more from the EVA. That's me upside down. And this is towards the end of the EVA. I was carrying an foot support and a bag of tools on a special kind of tool we have on our left hip. Here
here you see us getting them ready to get them out of their EMU suit, and there's lots of procedures that we have to follow. Make sure that, for example, that we don't depressurize them at a fast rate, so that we don't hurt their eardrums. And as you can see, it's a very detailed process that they go.
All right, Krister. Good job.
Hey, CJ, thanks a lot.
You bet. Good
That
job.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Danielle,
That's
how
called
was it?
teamwork.
That was some real teamwork.
Big
there.
teamwork. Ground,
Good call.
robo, everybody.
Good call.
It was
Where's
awesome.
Kevin?
You guys did a great job.
There he
inside.
is,
Thanks.
man. That was some hot arm flying. Great job, Kevin.
Hey, thanks a lot.
That was
It was
awesome,
a great
man.
day out there. It was a great plan.
Today was a special day for us, as we had half a day off, but nonetheless we still had our daily chores we had to do. Here you see Danny doing the LIO change-out. These are the canisters that scrub our CO2, and we have to do daily chores like this, and also collect water and transfer to the station, and water condensate. And there's a lot of chores that, even though we had half the day off, we still had to do.
Here we've got Kevin. He was getting ready to have lunch. That's peanut butter on a tortilla, one of our favorite things, or as he calls it, is peanut butter popsicle. And we do eat well up here, but it's also fun to take time to play with your food. Another special thing that we get to do on orbit is have a conference with our families over video networking. This was Jose's day. There's Krister. Getting his exercise. The EVA yesterday and the one he's got planned for tomorrow probably wasn't enough for him.
The station is a really busy place, as you can see here. There's Tim heading over to the European facility, and Frank heading over to the GEM. Nicole is making her way over to shuttle from the Node 2, and that's Mr. Mike Barrett there heading over into the GEM, coming out of his crew quarters. Meantime, in the MPLM, you can see that the guys are busy putting stuff away, getting ready. The MPLM all packed up and ready to come home. It's a pretty busy place. A lot of stuff all over the place. You know, when everything is neat and in order as it is in launch, it certainly gives you an appreciation for when you try to put stuff away and trying to do it in a zero-G environment.
Everything proceeding on track at this early hour of the crew's workday in support of the third and final spacewalk of the mission to be conducted by Danny Olivas and Krister Fugelsang. The spacewalk, of course, is the focus of attention today for most of the activity involving the joint shuttle station crews. This will be the 133rd spacewalk in support of space station assembly and maintenance, the third and final spacewalk schedule for this mission.
Beautiful agriculture. Farms and certainly signs of life down there.
Olivas making his way over to the starboard 3 truss and the work site for today's first task, the deployment of a cargo attachment platform. What this work amounts to is that Olivas and Fugelsang are essentially taking apart some of the structural attachments and braces of the starboard 3 truss so they can gain access to the payload attachment system, the cargo attachment platform that they'll be rotating down into a locked position a short time from now. And a good latch checkout on the newly deployed payload attachment system cargo platform on the starboard 3 truss.
Good, from Houston.
The view of Krister Fugelsang from Danny Olivas' helmet camera as he completes the checkout of the latches on the newly deployed cargo platform, to which critical spare parts will be affixed on the STS-129 mission in November. A good view inside the lattice work of the S0 truss from Danny Olivas' helmet camera as he and Krister Fugelsang are in the early stages of preparing to demate connectors, electrical connectors, from a failed rate gyro assembly.
Okay, and you can, once again, Tim still at that on 3541, retrieve the spare from the large ORU bag and install it on the guide rails. Krister, you may need to help him. Okay.
With Olivas and Fugelsang working to peak efficiency today, the spacewalk officer in Mission Control reports that the The anticipation is once these two global positioning system antennas are bolted into place, we should be still about 40 minutes ahead of the timeline.
And some good news to share, all the ORUs that you've installed have been powered up and are operational.
That's great news. That's awesome. That's great news. Thank you.
Welcome to Flight 89 highlights of Discovery and the International Space Station.
In addition to our work schedules up here, we have a little bit of time to stay fit so that when we return to Earth, we can function during the entry and the landing and everything and be good to go after we all get on the ground. This is the ARED aboard station, which is a weightlifting machine that works in zero-G. It's important to kind of get the technique of this thing because it's some tempo involved to keep it all out there so it's not bouncing off the hard stops and so on.
About the rest of my crew members, but in 1G I am no acrobat or gymnast at all, but it's amazing what a little zero-G can do for you, and it's a lot of fun. And out of nowhere, you can find a new use for the bungees.
And today we had another successful day in EVA. Certainly a testament to the team that helped prepare us, including Jed Scoville, Matt Gass, Sandy Moore, Paul Gum, and Dave Barrett, because we definitely had our hands full out there with the tasks, and even the suits gave us some issues, but through their hard effort and training, we were able to execute the procedures necessary and conduct two successful EVAs.
Here we are getting the crew. Nicole's taking pictures of their gloves, which will be sent to the ground to make, while the gloves are still pressurized, to make sure that the gloves are usable for a future EVA. There's a very specific sequence which is followed for taking the pictures of the gloves, and then the specialists on the ground will look at them very carefully. And they have good records from previous EVAs, so they know which, if there was any damage that it might have been on this spacewalk. We do this final part of the desuiting in parallel just to get the crew out of their suits quicker. They've had a really long day. They're in those suits a long, long time. More than 8 hours probably by the time it's done. Here you see Quister getting all the equipment ready after the EVAs, and you see me carrying an RGA, which is one of the pieces of ORUs that got replaced from EVA number 3, and we're taking it to the MPLM for storage and bringing it back, hopefully for repair back on the ground. As you can see, the MPLM is now nicely in better order because now we're putting all our stuff away that was going to come back down to Earth. With the EVAs over, the team essentially decided or got instructions to reconfigure the suits. We're going to leave parts of the suits on orbit and then bring parts that are out of service, bring them back home with us. The suits are modular in design, so they can be disassembled fairly easily on orbit. Here you see myself and Krister taking arms and legs off of the suits and performing the swaps of the necessary parts. Here's the crew gathered in Node 1 for our final dinner together. It's a very special time. We had foods there from all the represented countries, of course, the United States, Russia, Belgium. Krister brought some Swedish food up here with him. We had some Canadian food and some Japanese food, even left over from Koichi's visit. So it was a very well-rounded smorgasbord, as they say in Sweden, and we had all that stuff ready to go. It's a little tight quarters. It's nice in zero gravity that some of the crew members can float up high and kind of use the space most efficiently. Of course, it only takes astronauts a few minutes before they start playing with their food in space. Here's Frank DeWin, ESA astronaut, just demonstrating with the shrimp cocktail. Mike Barrett. The shrimp is a very popular item on most menus. It has some horseradish in there. It'll really clear out your sinuses. Here's a toast to everybody drinking the recycled urine, and it was a very happy moment. There's some tradition. Our lead spacewalker, EV1, Danny Olivas, is putting the sticker in the U.S. airlock on the space station, and then each crew member signs around the crew sticker there. We also installed the crew sticker on this is in Node 1. This tradition dates back all the way to STS-128 2A, the first assembly mission. And each crew has put their patch on this panel in Node 1. So we put our patch on there.
STS-128 pilot Kevin Ford and mission specialist Jose Hernandez working on moving the Leonardo multipurpose logistics module from the Harmony node back into Discovery's payload bay. It's a very slow and methodical process. Once it is put back into Discovery's payload bay, there will be 4 latches that will be secured to hold Leonardo in place for the return trip back home. All of this activity is going on. The rest of the crew is finishing up some transfer activities between Shuttle Discovery and the International Space Station, making sure that everything is on board Discovery's middeck for the ride back home.
Station Discovery, you've got to go for MPLM ungrapple.
The STS-128 crew now saying farewell to their Expedition 20 counterparts who have hosted them aboard the International Space Station for more than a week.
Here you see the European team on board, I'd say Frank Devine and myself closing the hatch to the MPLM. And here we do the closing of the station side of the hatches. That is the Node 2 native hatch being closed by Frank.
Here we're at the robotics workstation at the International Space Station using the big arm for unberthing the MPLM, and today it was our opportunity to unberth it and put it back into the payload bay door, into the payload bay, and we had great support from Pat, who provided us shuttle camera views, and also Kevin helped me provide the views. Halfway through, Kevin and I traded places, and he actually berthed it to the payload bay, and it was a great experience operating the International Space Station arm as opposed to the shuttle arm. So that was a pretty neat experience. Here you see the Node 2 hatch where the MPLM was connected, and as it's being removed and put into the payload bay of the shuttle. And as I mentioned earlier, Pat working the cameras on the shuttle side to make sure appropriate views we needed to ensure clearance was available, and we can go in for berthing it inside the payload bay. Okay, and this is it. This is Nicole putting on the docking mechanism, alignment guides. This is what we use to berth and unberth from space station. It's a cruciform which has a standoff on it, and you see we align it to those wire guides there. And this is a final hatch closure for STS-128 with the International Space Station.
Discovery Houston on the big loop. You are go for undocking.
Copy, Houston. Go for undocking.
Houston M Station from Discovery. Physical separation.
This view of the International Space Station from Discovery through the S-band communication system, the sequential still video that refreshes itself every few seconds, showing the view from a centerline camera in the orbiter docking system with Discovery 246 feet in front of the orbital outpost. With a palette of puffy clouds providing a backdrop, Shuttle Discovery 652 feet below the International Space Station as the two craft approach the west coast of South America. You can see a good view here of the orbiter boom sensor system, the 50-foot-long boom extension mated to the shuttle's robotic arm. That will come into play a few hours from now when Kevin Ford, Pat Forrester, and Jose Hernandez work the procedures for the so-called late inspection of the reinforced carbon-carbon on the leading edges of Discovery's wings and its nose cap.
Okay, Houston Discovery, welcome to our Flight Day 12 highlights. On the mid-deck this morning, we had a specialty of our crew is these breakfast burritos made by Danny Olivas and Jose Hernandez. You can see it's a little tricky in zero-G, floating all the ingredients into the tortilla, but it's a lot of, oh, that is a smiley face. I see that one now. Danny made a smiley face. Anyway, then we put the eggs on there and eat them. You can see us carefully placing the eggs inside the burrito. Danny is an expert in zero-G burrito making. And Tim Corpa decided to taste the very first one, and he gave us his honest opinion, and obviously it looks like he enjoyed it.
And it's time for undocking. We are prepared. The system is set up, and it's basically only to count down to the undocking moment when it has been calculated exactly to the second when it should happen. Excitement is building up. And here push. And hook lights went off. The screw starts to turn and undo the hooks, and about 2 minutes later, we are off the station.
Many hours of practice at home with our instructors really paid off today. We were really happy with the way the fly-around went, and nice, safe separation, and hopefully we got some good images to send home to everybody to see what this International Space Station is all about. It's just really spectacular.
Kevin mentioned he had a lot of company up on the flight deck today, but believe it or not, most everyone up there has a purpose. We do photo documentation of the station, most of it required, and those photos will be taken back and analyzed. It's just pictures don't capture what it's like when you look out the window. We do our best, but it's one of those things that you almost have to see to believe.
Once we got far enough away from the space station, we began to get ready for our inspection, our late inspection. Basically, we pull out the robotic arm and the boom system with the sensor package on the end to do a final inspection, make sure that the ship is ready to come to the atmosphere and come home.
We ended the day with a little bit of levity and fun, playing with some water and just demonstrating what you can do in zero gravity. Here you see Danny Olivas squirting out some water from a drink bag, and we're putting a lifesaver in the center. We're going to make a space eyeball. This one turned out pretty well, and you know, it's one of the skills that all astronauts have, being able to play with water and play with food. Going in for the kill.
At Edwards Air Force Base, California, the convoy begins to head to the edge of the dry lake bed. You can see the vehicle in the back. That people mover is the crew transport vehicle. Entry Flight Director Richard Jones and the entry team of flight controllers have been on console since 10 o'clock this morning. It was a very clear-cut decision earlier in the day to waive off both of the landing opportunities to the Kennedy Space Center because of stormy conditions, very unstable tropical-like conditions, bringing in showers and thunder showers to encroach the 30 nautical mile radial circle of the landing strip at the Kennedy Space Center today. So it was clearly not a good day to land in Florida, and the shuttle landing then was diverted 3,000 miles to the west to the Test Flight Center at the Dryden Flight Research Center at Edwards Air Force Base. Discovery launched 2 weeks ago tonight from the Kennedy Space Center to begin its mission to the International Space Station, delivering new hardware, 14 tons of equipment, and Nicole Stott well into her 3-month increment as a flight engineer with the Expedition 20 crew. The propulsion officer reports that the deorbit burn is underway, 2 good engines, good control of the orbiter. This braking maneuver will last 2 minutes 35 seconds, slowing Discovery down by 267 feet per second, enabling it to enter the Earth's atmosphere nose first. All of the systems in excellent shape to support the next hour-long descent back to the landing site at Edwards Air Force Base. Discovery beginning the trip home to Edwards Air Force Base, California.
Discovery Houston, on energy approaching the hack. No changes to winds or weather. For the crosswind DTO, will be late chute deploy.
Okay, we're late chute deploy. Kevin and I have got our covers closed.
Copy.
Kevin Ford in control of the stick at this moment. Discovery now going subsonic, the fleet-leading shuttle announcing its arrival at the landing site with a pair of sonic booms. The late afternoon sunshine gleaming off its thermal protection heat shield. 3 minutes until touchdown. Rick Sturckow has taken back the stick from Kevin Ford. The vortices off the wings very obvious. Discovery continuing its turn around the heading alignment circle, aligning with runway 22 at Edwards Air Force Base.
Discovery, on at the 180.
On at the 180.
The slow, gentle turn around the heading alignment circle. Commander Rick Sturckow will soon align Discovery with runway 22, time to touchdown 2 minutes.
Discovery, on at the 90.
On at the 90. Runway inside, Houston.
Discovery, we copy.
This view from the heads-up display camera, the same view that Rick Sturckow and Kevin Ford are seeing now that we're aligned with runway 22. Discovery right on the center line. Moments from now, Rick Sturckow will flare up Discovery's nose. Pilot Kevin Ford will deploy the landing gear. The pre-flare maneuver conducted. Landing gear down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Kevin Ford now deploying the drag chute. Nose gear touchdown. Discovery rolling out on runway 22 at Edwards Air Force Base, California, wrapping up a 5.7 million mile mission to resupply and fortify the International Space Station. Tim Kopra home after 58 days in space.
Houston Discovery, wheel stop.
Copy, wheel stop. Welcome home, Discovery. Congratulations on an extremely successful mission, stepping up science to a new level on the International Space Station.
All right, well, with the crew of STS-128, the Space Shuttle Discovery, we're very happy to be back on land here in California. We wish we could have gone to Florida today, gotten to see our families down there, but it just didn't work out with the weather. The crew's doing great. You can see them there behind me. Tim Kopra, unfortunately, could not join us on this walk around. He's doing some medical science experiments, so he's participating in those right at this time. Discovery was a really great vehicle on this mission. It performed flawlessly, thanks to all the folks at the Kennedy Space Center who prepared that vehicle. Also, thanks to all of our instructors in Houston who trained us to do this mission, and to all the folks working in the Mission Control Center in Houston. It was a great mission. We're looking forward to getting back to Houston for the debriefs, and we just want to thank everybody for their support. Thank you.